a program we call Follow the Nile. You will learn a little bit more about Follow the Nile. It's about bringing together filmmakers from Eastern and Northern Africa. And we have 5 wonderful pitches, pre-recorded pitches from filmmakers from the region, and would love to present these pitches to you. These projects are still in development, so they're still looking for support on development, but as well as for co-producers, funders, and so on. And we are quite excited about these projects, and I hope you will be too. This will be the first part of this program, this presentation. The second part is concentrated on a workshop series we set up in Eastern Africa with our partners DocuBox and Film Academy and Rushdick Media. And we're going to talk about this. This is more about education and how to get into international film business as an African filmmaker. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to my colleagues who are going to run this presentation together with me. The first one is Makandi Mbai from Nairobi. She's going to introduce you a little bit into the Follow the Nile program. And in the back is Murat Abuesha. He's a director from Germany and Jordan, and he will guide us technically through this afternoon. For the pitches, in the frame of the Follow the Nile program, I would like to hand over to Makandi, and she will introduce you a little bit into the process of Follow the Nile. What was that? Makandi, over to you. Don't forget to unmute.
Thank you, Frank. Hello and welcome once again to Film Collaborations from East and North Africa. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the world. We hope that this event will be enjoyable and informative for you. My name is Makandi Mbai, and I am the Follow the Nile coordinator, joining you from Nairobi, Kenya. To start us off, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to the Follow the Nile program. I'll tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and the progress we've made over the past 2 years. The name Follow the Nile was inspired by the intention to connect the artistic ambitions of thinkers, artists, writers, and filmmakers living and working in countries through which the Nile flows, as well as those around the Nile basin. And as you can see, a little brief geography recap. We have the River Nile, which rises south of the equator and flows northward through the northeastern Africa. So the countries that take part in the program are Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. So the idea to develop Follow the Nile was conceived 2 years ago. This was after the realization that there was very minimal interaction and collaborations between and within North and Eastern African countries. This, despite the fact that there are actually many similarities between the two regions in language, music, and culture. So for example, Swahili, which is commonly used in East Africa, has been greatly influenced by the Arabic language largely used in North Africa. And this gets me to what it is that we do. So Follow the Nile offers 8 directors and writers the opportunity to develop their documentary and feature films with the help and supervision of our mentors. The program also offers and facilitates one-on-one meetings with potential local and international producers, financiers, and industry professionals such as yourselves. And for that reason, we are very glad that you're here today. And the first edition of Follow the Nile happened in 2019, and the second edition is currently underway. The program happens in 3 stages. The first stage involves a writing and mentorship residency in East Africa. And as you can see, we have a photo there where we had a 10-day writing residency on the coastline of Kenya, where the participants embarked on the development of their stories. In the second stage, the participants attend a film festival hosted in North Africa. And in our 2019 edition, as you can see, the participants attended the Carthage Film Festival in Tunisia, where they had an opportunity to pitch in the Shabaka program. And finally, in the third stage, the participants attend the Berlin Film Festival. And in our previous edition, they participated as guests of the Berlinale Talents program and had the opportunity to pitch their project at the festival. We are now in the second edition of the program, in which, thank you, Murad. We are now in the second edition of the program, in which we have 8 projects, 3 documentary projects and 5 fiction projects from Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. And at the beginning of 2020, we had anticipated that the second edition would go through the 3 stages in physical locations as we experienced it in 2019. However, due to the global COVID-19 pandemic, we've held all the 3 stages of the second edition online. And here you can see the participants taking place, having a Zoom meeting. As we are in the last stage of the second edition, the documentary teams will be participating at DocFest Munich in May this year, and the fiction films will be pitching here next, seeking various collaborations with you. So in this next session, we are going to jump into the pitch presentations, and I'm excited to present to you the participants of our 5 fiction projects to share their stories and what kind of collaborations they're seeking here today. You're welcome to engage, ask questions on the chat, and get in touch with the filmmakers after their pitches. We will be sharing their contact details in the chat after each pitch. So to begin, let's welcome our first team with the project Mehal Safari from Ethiopia, presented by writer-director Abraham Gezane and producer Tamara Dawit. Mehal Safari is a story about Klahun, a dutiful city employee charged with collecting corpses from the streets of Addis Ababa during the Red Terror. He works diligently until one day he finds the body of his son. Welcome, Tamara and Abraham.
Thank you for being here. My name is Tamara Mariam Dawit. I'm the Canadian co-producer of the feature drama Mehal Safari by Ethiopian director Abraham Gezane. While Abraham has a strong history of successful feature films and TV dramas in Ethiopia, this project is the first he is undertaking as an international co-production and with a global distribution plan in mind. I'm excited to be his partner in bringing this film to life and showcasing Abraham's specific story lens on the world stage. Our film is set in Ethiopia's capital of Addis Ababa in the mid-1970s during the rule of a brutal military dictatorship who is ruthlessly killing anyone who opposes them. The city is in a constant state of silent mourning as the bodies of thousands of young people are executed each night and left on display on the city streets. It's dangerous and illegal to mourn the dead, and not being able to bury family members properly and with dignity is difficult for Ethiopians who are deeply religious to accept. This period was called the Red Terror, and nearly every Ethiopian family lost a member.
Mehal Safari is inspired by the real ambulance driver who forced to collect corpses during Red Terror. I have interviewed them and was drawn by the powerful irony of the supposed life-savior being made to collect the dead. I feel that it is important today to make films like Mehal Safari that will help Ethiopians reflect on and draw lessons from the difficult period in the recent history. Klahun, the main character, is a single father who believes that being politically apathetic will keep his family safe. He pushes his teenage son and daughter to keep their head down and warns them against joining any growing opposition movement. However, as an ambulance driver working for the city, he is charged with collecting corpses and he is put in direct contact with the trauma that affect his country. Talahun is stuck in his job. He can't quit and increasingly viewed as a collaborator with the regime by his neighbors. He is isolated. His days are monotonous, spent collecting the bodies from the city streets and taking them for burial in the mass grave. He works diligently until one day he finds the body of his 16-year-old son. Talahun is conflicted. He wants to collect his son's body and maintain his dignity by giving him a proper burial. However, if his connection with the corpse is discovered, Talahun himself will face arrest and potentially death. Instead, he plots to steal his son's body and forces to confront his daughter's connection to the opposition movement. He realizes that he must not only bury his son, but also save his daughter from a certain death if she remains in the city. Mahal Safari is the psychological cost of a father to balance his lifeless child dignity and living child well-being. It is also the story of an apathetic man trying to be a hero. My story was inspired by an Ethiopian proverb. Mahal Safari በሁለት ጥይት ይመታል. Those who chose to be in the middle will be shot with 2 bullets. The proverb indicates not only the social polarity, but also shows the mental hardship faced by Talahun. The irony is that Talahun is neither the supporter of the military junta or the opposition movement. He is a character stuck in the middle and he is the main victim.
This story has all the makings for a powerful and emotionally charged film, an intimate look at one of the world's least known mass killings and a complex character who grapples with the moral question of how best to protect his children, both living and dead. The film is currently in development and is a co-production between Canada and Ethiopia with an estimated budget of just over 600,000 euros, of which we've already raised 25%. The international rights are available outside of Ethiopia, and we're here to meet with potential co-producers and funders who believe in this story as much as we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tamara and Abraham. I've already empathized with Talahun, and once the film is complete, I am keen to see the journey this father takes as he navigates the dilemma that faces him. As I mentioned previously, we will be sharing contact information on the chat box, so please look through there to see how you can engage and get in touch with the filmmakers. We will go on to our second pitch, which is a Ugandan project, Zomba, and will be presented by writer-director Angella Emurwon and producer Phoebe Kioria. Zomba is the story of a 30-year-old Leila, a popular musician in the fictional city of Zomba. Leila has an unlikely friendship with Bingu, a wealthy politician, but he betrays her, sparking off a revolutionary movement that thrusts Leila into the center of Zomba politics and challenging her often professed political indifference. Let's hear from Team Zomba.
Hello, my name is Phoebe Kioria. I'm speaking to you from Kenya. I'm a film producer who's lived and worked in Uganda for the last 10 years. During that time, I worked with Miranaya's film school, Maisha Film Lab, where we trained filmmakers in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. I was lucky enough to produce 35 short films as a result of the 8 years at Maisha. And some of the notable ones is Robert Katende's Portrait, A Fork, a Spoon, and a Night, which was financed by Tribeca. And this was a precursor to Queen of Katwe, Disney's film that was later produced in Uganda and directed by Miranaya. We're here to talk to you about Zomba, our exciting project, on the journey that I'm going on with Angie Emurwon, who I'm going to invite now to say a word or two.
Hello, my name is Angella Emurwon. I am a Ugandan filmmaker and I live and work in Uganda. I am the writer and director for Zomba. I started out as a playwright, and two of my plays, Sunflowers Behind a Dirty Fence and The Cow Needs a Wife, both won BBC Drama Awards. My first short film, Sunday, won Best East African Short at Mashariki African Film Festival in Kigali, Rwanda, amongst other awards. Zomba is a political film, a political drama set in present-day Uganda in the fictional suburb of Zomba in the capital city, Kampala. Zomba is a special place. It is a low-income settlement right in the center of the city, inhabited by upwardly mobile dreamers of Kampala. It is a trendsetter in fashion, music, and art, and a political mover and shaker because youth movements have often begun there. Our story begins in the midst of a hotly contested by-election. The long-serving incumbent MP for Zomba has died suddenly, and the seat is up for grabs. The ruling party wants to maintain their hold on the area, and the opposition finally see an opportunity for change. Votes are hot property, and money and opportunities are flying around. This is where we meet Leila, the daughter of a deceased revolutionary who believes economic empowerment is the only insurance against corrupt systems. Her boyfriend Beja, a popular musician and political idealist, disagrees. Raising the consciousness of the people is the only way to true change, but Leila doesn't care. She's going to use the opportunities flying around during the election to take her struggling branding agency to the next level. And the best mover and shaker in Zomba is her friend and client, Bingu. But Bingu surprises her. He has decided to throw his hat in the ring as going for the Zomba MP seat with the ruling party ticket. And he asks Leila to come along for the ride. There is money to be made and business opportunities for Leila and the Zomba community when he becomes MP. Despite Leila's disinterest in politics, she says yes. Things go well until she discovers Bingu is just as corrupt and willing to betray Leila and the community to gain power. She confronts him, but he's confused. Wasn't that the plan? Isn't this the way to economic empowerment? Only the powerful can advance. Leila is faced with the true nature of her beliefs. Guilt and anger propel her to undermine Bingu's campaign, sparking a protest movement that thrusts her into the midst of Zomba politics. Galvanized by the same movement, Beja merges his music and political ideas, coming to the attention of the opposition political party. Things get heat up, and Leila, Beja, and Bingu butt heads and grapple with what getting involved in change means for each of them. I come from a country crawling with revolutionaries. We are a people constantly being liberated, marked as oppressed, and assumed to have learned nothing from the past. We have learned to participate in politics from a distance because the price of change is high and not enough people are willing to pay. And while I'm preoccupied with the question, what would it take to lead a nation beyond revolution, I am drawn to the intimacies in the story. Past traumas, hopes carried forward, friendship, and the evolving of personal philosophies. I write and direct intimate and specific moments in characters' lives to learn, to illuminate, and to uncover new ways to converse with the world. For me, Zomba is a personal investigation of what it means to be a Ugandan.
Right, and just jumping off the top of that, Zomba, for me, is an investigation into things that are not taught in classrooms, where I come from, in Kenya. While I was living and working in Uganda for the last decade, it occurred to me that my contemporaries, Angie, and many others like her, their parents fled Uganda in the dead of night, in the 70s, early 80s, for safe haven to countries across the border. And we did not understand why we had so many teachers, so many lecturers, so many artists who were from Uganda. And this is, for me, a personal interest to just understand how is it we need to start having conversations around what does democracy look like. And that said, where we are now in the project, we're looking for a couple of things. And one of the primary goals we have at this point in time is getting Angie into a residency So we do need development funds. I would also love to be part of a producer's residency, for example, IAVE. And we're also looking for development funds that would allow us to have a script in the next 6 to 12 months so that we can get into the financing stage of the project. And to that end, we are inviting you to come along with us a journey, producers, partners, anyone interested in the project, to get in at this early stage so that we can see how we could move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela and Phoebe, for your pitch. And there's a large part of our political past in Eastern Africa that wasn't taught in our schools, as Phoebe points out. And I am so excited to see this film explore that past and enlighten us on what's possible in the future. So wishing you all the best, Angela and Phoebe. We will move on to the next pitch, Call of the Wind, by writer-director Neha Manoj and producer Beatrice Wangondu from Kenya. Call of the Wind is the story of Alia, a young Muslim girl who breaks cultural barriers to create a life she never expected, all because she wanted to feel wind in her hair. Over to you, Neha and Beatrice.
Jambo, my name is Beatrice Wangondu, and I'm the producer of the film Call of the Wind. I've produced films that are currently running on VOD platforms across the African continent. And just recently, I produced a film called The Whistleblower, which won a couple of awards and is currently running on a platform called Vumi Central. We are very excited to share with you a story so personal to us. And I'd like to introduce Neha Manoj, our writer. She's directed and written 8 short films so far. She's participating in this year's Berlinale Talent. And just last year, when she shot and directed a short film, I was drawn by her vision and style, and I wanted to work with her. I am very confident she'll be able to treat this film with the dignity it deserves. On that note, allow me to introduce Neha to you, who is going to tell you more about our film.
Thank you, B. I think the best way to tell you about this story is to tell you about mine. I was introduced to a man by an auntie. Being a free bird, I decided to take the chance and go on a blind date with him. As I flipped through the menu, he warned me not to have an alcoholic drink. A restriction already? Anyways, he proceeded to order coffee for both of us. As we got into the date, he did most of the talking. Finally, he asked me what I did for a living. I said I'm a filmmaker. I watched him closely to see if he understood what I did. You see, a lot of people in my community don't know, as there are only 5 Kenyan Indian filmmakers in Kenya, and I happen to be the only female. My date was quiet for a while, and then he said, "That's fine, but when we get married, you'll have to stay at home and look after my parents." "That's fine, but when we get married, you'll have to stay at home and look after my parents." Imagine my shock. This man was first dictating my drink and then my career. Clearly that was the end of that date, that man. His words and his behavior disconcerted me for a while. I couldn't shake it off, so I started digging, asking my female friends about their experiences, and they proclaimed that this is the norm. They carried on explaining that most men want a stay-at-home wife to do their bidding at their convenience, and as a woman, you'll just have to accept that. Doesn't make any sense. These women are educated with high-paying jobs, and they gave it all up for marriage? This is how I came to write Call of the Wind, the story of Alia, which takes place in a small village in the coastal area of Kenya. Alia loves running and feeling the wind in her hair. She's always gushing about in the school field during school breaks. But things change when she first gets her period. Culturally, She's a woman now. In a blink of an eye, she's taken out of school to learn how to cook and clean and manage the house. And the next thing you know, suitors after suitors are pouring in. All this while she has to behave in a socially dictated manner without complaining. Alia cleverly dissuades any potential matches. And to her parents' dismay, she re-enrolls back at school. On completing her high school education, Aya gets a scholarship. But this doesn't dissuade her mother, who's introducing her to a new suitor. Muhammad is open-minded and attractive, and Aya is drawn to him, and he agrees to the match. Through all this excitement, she momentarily forgets about her scholarship. Little by little, Alia notices that Muhammad is really traditional and conservative. Feeling trapped and desperate to end this engagement, Alia sees no choice but to run away. Breaking an engagement has consequences not only on Alia, but her family too. Nevertheless, she takes the scholarship and leaves the village. After completing her degree, Alia returns home. Her family is broken. Her parents are living in a frightfully poor state. Heartbroken and beaten, she's compelled to face herself and to take responsibilities for her actions. There is nothing left for them in the village. So Alia works hard and saves up, moving her parents out into the city. She's financially supporting them as she pursues her career, and all this while renewing her relationship with them.
For centuries, women have been told what to do. And it is this kind of narcissistic cultural beliefs and systems that have held women captive. Our goal is to add our voice into the already ongoing conversation around the freedoms of women across the world. This project is in the very early development stages. We are looking for script labs and residencies to help develop the story further. We are also keen to co-produce with a European co-producer and distributor. We are very grateful for the opportunity to share our story with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And isn't it always uplifting to see more narratives about women reclaiming their power and asserting their own sense of agency? Well done, Neha and Beatrice. Okay, we are halfway there, ladies and gentlemen, and may I just say how inspiring it is to see these projects come to life in this way and to be presented to you here today. Our penultimate film is Goodbye Julia from Sudan, and it will be presented by writer-director Mohamed Kodofani and producer Amjad Abulala. Just before the separation of South Sudan, a retired singer from the north seeks redemption for causing the death of a southern man by hiring his oblivious wife as his own maid. Welcome, Mohamed and Amjad.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohamed Kordofani. I'm a filmmaker from Sudan. I made a number of short films which all focused on social issues with a political background. And I'm here today presenting you my new project, Goodbye Julia.
This is Angella, a film producer and director from Sudan. I used to do films since 15 years ago as director and producer or just producing. I did like a feature film, You Will Die at 20, as a co-producer with my company Station Film in Sudan. And now we just choose to push the cinema in Sudan by having new films with different talents as Mohamed Kordofani. So that's why Goodbye Julia is our new project that we are very happy with.
Now, some political context about the project. In 2005, my country signed a peace treaty with the rebels of the South, represented by Dr. John Garang. This treaty ended Africa's longest civil war, It also gave the people of the South the right to vote for independence or unity after a transitional period. Unfortunately, right after the signing, Dr. John Garang was mysteriously killed in a plane crash. This sparked a wave of violence in the capital, Khartoum, and sadly, many people died from both sides. We call this the Black Monday events. Our protagonist is Mona, who is a middle-class Muslim Arab singer from the north, who quits singing to preserve her struggling marriage, and whose voice, by the way, is what you're hearing in the background. This is the actual voice of the actress. I'm going to give you some time to enjoy this. During the Black Monday events, Mona's reckless actions leads to the death of a man from the South. Unable to tell anyone and struggling with depression and guilt, she decides to locate the victim's family to offer some compensation. But when she meets the victim's wife, Julia, Mona is unable to admit to her what happened. Instead, she hires her to work for her as a maid. She treats her kindly, puts her in a church school, and the relationship between the two starts to become more of a friendship. Julia also reignites Mona's passion for singing when she introduces her to the church choir. However, things get complicated when Julia meets a radical separatist soldier who helps her solve the mystery of her husband's disappearance. The film ends when the secret is finally blown. This coincides with the separation of South Sudan. Mona's marriage comes to an end, and Julia submits herself voluntarily to the deportation program to go to a country that she's never seen before.
We choose to do Goodbye Julia like the first thing in our production company after you will die at 20. First of all, because we believed in Muhammad Kordofani after watching and following him doing his short films in the past 6 years or more, and the way he do films. He do films not because he want to go and have good awards, and he do films because he believed in some subjects politically and socially. For example, his last movie, Kajar's Prison. I wasn't the producer, but I helped to send it for some festivals, and actually I got like approves from some festivals. I can't say what is it exactly, but he refused. He wanted, because the revolution and the set-in was huge that time, he wanted to screen it there, and I believe it was one of the biggest screenings in the world. Actually, it was like 1 million people was watching at the same time. Also, because it's very important to face racism now. It's very important to face our actions now. It's the time after the revolution to look back and see what we did and to avoid what we may do. Because racism is still there in Sudan, and actually, if you follow in Darfur situation, you will recognize why Goodbye Julia is important to be made.
I thought about making this film after the separation of South Sudan, which was not a surprise to me. But what was shocking was the result of the referendum. It was 99% for separation. I realized this result is not about a political disagreement. It is not about the misallocation of wealth. This is about a long history of systematic racism, classism, and religion prejudice that we, the Northerners, practiced for decades. I also realized I was part of the problem because although there were millions of Southern Sudanese in the city, I never knew any of them. The only one I remember was our maid, who my mother used to mark her drinking glasses with nail polish so that she doesn't use ours. This film is part of my conscious effort to overcome the ingrained racism that was passed on to me through generations. The film will explore these topics with a look inside an intimate relationship between two characters and what brought them together and what sets them apart. In terms of the current status of the project, right now I'm writing draft 4. The script has been developed at different places with some of the greatest mentors. We've also done a bit of scouting. We have a beautiful location in Khartoum for Julia's school. And we also received a development grant from AFAQ, and we secured some of the budget locally. We're still looking to develop the script even further, and we are looking for co-production opportunities.
I hope you can see in Goodbye Julia what we saw, the political side, the social side, and the artistic side. I hope really this presentation or the treatment, or if you can ask for the script, we will be more than happy to send. I hope you can see really what we saw in it, why it's important, why it's necessary now to be.
Thank you, Amjad and Mohammed. I believe this film has enormous potential to shape the conversation around systematic racism, classism, and religious prejudice that Mohammed touched on, because these are very crucial matters for the continent at the moment. We really look forward to watching this film once it's complete. So ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our final pitch, and to present that, and to present us their film, Tero, we have writer Mona Ombogo and producer Mwaniki Mageria from Kenya. In the vibrant fishing culture of Lake Victoria, a teenage boy struggles to keep his family's fish and restaurant business afloat after the death of his father. Let's hear from Team Tero.
Terra diane kisumo. Terra diane kisumo. Kisumo ber kisumo. Terra diane kisumo. Ngegemit kisumo. Terra diane kisumo. My name is Mona Ombogo. I am the scriptwriter and the director of the film Tero, and that is the sound of my people, the Luo people from Kisumu, Nyanza, East Africa. Now, I didn't grow up in East Africa. I grew up in Southern Africa. So every time we came back home, I was mesmerized by the large bodies of water in Kenya, particularly Lake Victoria. As a child, I'd stand and watch at dusk as the fishermen tossed their nets into the lake, and I would wonder, who are these people? What is their story? Can I ever get to know it? Sadly enough, as a child, I didn't. Because the truth is, not a lot of stories are told about the Luo of Kisumu, Nyanza. That was my inspiration for the film Tero. The word Tero is derived from the phrase Tero Buru, which means to take dust. Tero Buru is a Luo custom in which a man's peers bury him in ceremony, dance, and drumming after his death. It is the passing on of legacy from one generation to the next. 1 week after Jawar, our 19-year-old main character's father, dies, he watches as his father's peers carry out the Tero Buru. A week ago, Jawar was also set to go to Kisumu City to learn e-commerce in college. Now, all that is dashed because Jawar is forced to stay in the village and take care of his father's fishing and restaurant business. If he does not, his mother Akelo and his twin sisters lose their livelihood. What makes it even worse is that Jawar discovers Osul, his father, was heavily in debt, and now the debts are all being called in. As if that wasn't bad enough, Jawar is offered a bailout by his father's archenemy, Obongo, but he refuses. And he refuses because he knows, fundamentally, Osul, his father, and Obongo, his father's archenemy, did not agree on the principles of fishing. While Osul was interested in the ecosystem replenishing itself, Obongo is only interested in the bottom line. It is this bottom line of greed that is killing the ecosystem of the lake region in East Africa to date. However, Jawar and his mother Akello are cognizant of the fact that if they do not take Obongo up on his offer, they lose everything anyway. They renegotiate a deal with him to buy out their loans, and they get to pay him back in 6 months. If they don't, he gets the business. Obongo agrees, but he throws in an extra caveat. He not only wants the business in 6 months if they don't pay him back, he also wants Akello as his wife inherited. Also a little custom. Obongo insists on sending in his daughter Sulwe to be his eyes and ears to protect his investment. What he really wants is a spy on the ground. Jawar cannot stand Sulwe one bit. He thinks she is bossy, and she thinks he is stubborn. They start off as enemies, but as a subtle chemistry brews just beneath the surface, and Sulwe watches Akello and Jawar working so hard with a dedication not just to their business, but to the legacy of Osul and to the community they live in, she changes her mind about her father's mission to spy on them, and instead, she decides to help them. Though Jawar does not manage to save his father's business, he does reinvent himself and start a new practice, using the old traditions and merging them with the current day positive practices. He has effectively carried out the Tero Buru. This is what I hope for my people, the Luo of Nyanza. But we cannot live in the past forever. Neither should we hold on to it too tightly. But we can take the best of it, merge it with the best of who we are today, and create a new future, a new normal, and the new sounds of Nyanza.
The delightful Mona Mbogo. Don't you just love her and the way she's passionate about telling the story? And that's one of the reasons that drew me to this project, to be able to work with her. My name is Monique Magere. I am the producer. Mona Mbogo, of course, is a multiple nominee for Best Scriptwriter in very many festivals, and also is a bestseller on Amazon platform for romance series. One of the things that this particular project attracted me about is that it talks about the boy child and how he has been left behind, and also about environmental degradation and how increased populations around the lake need to be very, very clear on the policies that they use to be able to reduce the pollution that is happening right now. Right now we are in the mid sections of our development stages. We've been able to do some recce for locations. We've been able to sign up partners who will be able to finance it to this level to be able to do a part of the development. And we've been able to very, very happily sign on Hollywood actor, Kenyan Hollywood actor, Benjamin Onyango, to take the role of the antagonist, which is very exciting for us. Our budget right now is about 500,000 euros. We are looking for partners, co-production partners, even at this early creative stage to work with. But more importantly, we're looking for partners who will be able to enable us to do the development and the production of this. Thank you very much. I hope this interests you. And if it does, we are keen to work with you and talk with you. Let's make this movie that shall be heralded for many, many years to go and to come, and really talk about this great, great city of Kisumu. Tero, the story of Kisumu.
Thank you, Mona and Moneki. I can see a few East African faces that can recognize the tune and sing along to that. And as a Kenyan, I personally haven't seen very many stories told out of Kisumu. And so what I find exciting is that this film will be an opportunity for the world to see and appreciate this part of Kenya. So thank you, Mona and Moneki, once again. And that brings us to the end of the pitching session. We have shared the contact details for all the teams on the chat. So please take a look and get the contacts and get in touch with them. We look forward to engaging in more conversations as we continue to expand the collaborations from East and North Africa. Moving on to the next session, I'd like just to mention that Follow the Nile has been working on designing the program and selection of the projects with various partners like DocuBox, Sudan Film Festival, Carthage Film Festival, Berlinale Talents, and the Royal Film Commission Jordan. And I will hand over to Frank to introduce some of our partners that are here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mackenzie, and I really keep my fingers crossed for all our wonderful 5 projects. Some of you might get interested in cooperating or even funding and supporting the further development of these projects. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, this presentation consists of 2 parts. The first one was Follow the Nile, what you just saw, and the second one will introduce you to our partners, because programs like this are not possible to be realized without strong partnerships. And for Follow the Nile, as well as for the Pro Series program, we set up with our colleagues and friends from DocuBox in Nairobi and with Film Academy in Germany. I would like to introduce you to one very strong partner on the first hand, and this is the DocuBox in Nairobi. Some of you might know. And representing DocuBox is Mudamba in Nairobi. And I would like to ask you, Mudamba, just to present what DocuBox has to offer for filmmakers from the region. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Frank. Glad to be here with you, and just happy that this is taking place. I would like, first of all, to have Cindy to play the trailer. And after the trailer, I'll talk. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Peter Mudamba, and I'm the Programs Director at DocuBox. We work with a strong team of people who include the Executive Director, Judy Kibinge, who has been steering the team quite well. And we also have John Jokiroga, who is the project's lead, and at the same time, the box coordinator at DocuBox. Unfortunately, the both of them are not with us at the moment because of a busy schedule, but I'm glad to be here. And for me, I'll just be able to elaborate a little bit further why these collaborations, this kind of collaborations are important to DocuBox. I think from the presentation, you've been able to see the wide range of support that we give to filmmakers in Kenya and the East African region, from the shorts programs, whether it is short fiction or short factual content, and then the feature-length documentaries that we've supported since our formation in 2012 and started supporting in 2013. Then you are able to see a bit of what we do with audience building, with the film screenings that we do. But I'd just like to point out that without collaboration, it would be very difficult for us to achieve the results that we've been able to achieve. The numbers of the shorts that we've been able to produce, whether it is short fiction or factual, the number of feature-length films that have also been able to find themselves getting into major festivals, whether it is at IDFA, at Sundance, and in Durban and the like, has only been able to take place because of being able to work with such passionate partners and collaborators, and supported by the Robert Bosch Stiftung or Robert Bosch Foundation. Working with the Film Academy in Baden-Württemberg, we were able to run up to around, I think, 18 or so, not 18, but around 13 or so workshops. And these workshops through Film Pro Series will be talked about, I think, at length by Frank. But having done that, we saw an expansion in our space. At the very beginning, when we started working with the feature-length documentaries, and have been able to work with films such as The Letter, which opened at ITFA, Softy, which we were able to fund with finishing funds, I Am Samuel, which has actually been doing festival runs. If it had not been for Robert Bosch Foundation, which came in to collaborate with us and the Film Academy in Baden-Württemberg, it would have been a major challenge because most of our filmmakers in the region started complaining and wondering how we could be able to work with them on short fiction films or short factual films. And the courage became bigger and better when we went into the Film Pro series. But having said that, Follow the Nile became the other next very important space to be able to collaborate, because as much as we worked in the East African region, we were not able to work with the Arabic countries and the North African countries. And Film Pro series was able to give us that chance and that opportunity, as you have seen from the variation and the varied number of films that have come through these pitchings. We believe that with the two pitches that we've actually been able to support and be able to be part of, there'll be exciting films which will come through, which will end up being not just the short fiction films that we've been able to support, but most likely we'll end up also seeing exciting and very passionately made, high quality, feature-length fiction films from the region out of the collaborations. So I want to thank a lot in this instance, the Robert Bosch Foundation, which found it necessary to come into Film Pro series and Follow the Nile. I would also like to thank Frank Albers as a person for just having that passion to try and drive the growth of film in this region. I would also like to thank the Film Academy in Baden-Württemberg and Guido for the great support that they were able to give, because apart from just being able to support filmmakers and the films, we have seen collaborations even on the one-on-one level. I would like to thank you, and I'd like to say that DocuBox grows stronger because of the strong partnerships that we've had, and we want to continue in this manner now and in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the support. Back to Albers.
Thank you very much, Mudamba. And in case anyone is interested in cooperating or learning a bit more about DocuBox, is free to contact Mudamba directly. You saw his email address on the screen, but you are free to contact us as well, and we will link you to DocuBox.
And maybe,
oh yeah, sure.
And maybe just to add, you can also be able to find us on www.mydocubox.org. That's the website which has nearly more than just Mudamba. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's worth visiting it. It's a website full of information, so it's worth going there. Yeah, talking about partnerships for the Pro Series workshops, Mudamba already mentioned. On the German side, the Film Academy in Baden-Württemberg, Ludwigsburg, in the south of Germany, was responsible for this program. And together with DocuBox, they developed a series of workshops and even more. And talking about it and introducing to this program and what the international work of the Film Academy has to offer for filmmakers from Africa and other regions, I would like to introduce you to Guido Lukoszek. Guido Lukoszek runs the international office at the Film Academy, and I'm very happy about that we had this wonderful cooperation for so many years now. And I hand over to you to introduce you to the programs of the Film Academy, the international programs, and to introduce you to the team who belongs to the Pro Series workshops.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you, Mudamba, for your kind words. Can I ask Makandi and Murat to start the presentation which I had sent to you? Okay, thank you very much. Very nice. This is the campus of the Film Academy in Ludwigsburg. We are going to run through the academy before we go a little bit more into the Film Pro series. So Film Academy Baden-Württemberg is a school which is located in Ludwigsburg in the vicinity of Stuttgart in the southwestern part of Germany. That's where Mercedes-Benz and Porsche and all the car factories are. So we are a bit like a lotus flower in that region with our artistic education. Can we go to the next page, please? It was founded in 1991. We are going to celebrate our 30th anniversary this year. So you see the numbers, we have 500 enrolled students. We are producing 300 films per year, from 30-second clips to feature-length co-produced films in the thesis level. We have approximately 2,500 alumni to this day. As a public school, we are a non-for-profit organization. We are funded by the federal state of Baden-Württemberg, which means that there are no tuition fees for our students. European students, non-European students, unfortunately, have to pay 1,500 euros per semester since they changed the legislation a couple of years ago. The money doesn't stay with the school, but we have to ask for it. So the school is built a bit like a studio. You can go 14 different study courses, which are resembling the departments in filmmaking. So we have our own studios, we have our own sound recording facilities, we even have Dolby Atmos, so we are technically quite up to date. And we are not a university, but we are an academy. So we are not producing scholars, but we are producing students that are able to make a living from what they do in the market once they leave the school. That's basic philosophy of the school. Can we go to the next page, please? On the campus with the Film Academy is the Animation Institute, a strong facility for animation, digital post-production, and the Atelier Ludwigsburg Paris, which is a special training for international producing between Paris and Ludwigsburg. It's a one-year thing, and we have an academy for performing arts here on the campus as well, educating stage directors and actors. The academy is, well, may I say, the most successful European school in terms of awards that are achieved by its productions, by its technical infrastructure. I guess it's among the best as well. And the unique selling point of the school is really the international network we are building up here, and which has a very strong emphasis on cooperation with African regions and institutions. Yeah, I'm going to spare you the study courses and also the international components. Let's go to the next page because we don't want to waste too much time. Here you see a list of schools and institutions we are accepting exchange students from. You see there's quite a number of African institutions there. The list is not really complete, but it gives you an idea what we do. We have also ties to India, to South and North America, and to France mostly. And as you see, to South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and also, of course, which is not on the list, it's Uganda and Rwanda. But I get to that later. Maybe to the next thing. That's our core activity when it comes to international exchange. We have what we call the international class. So we're taking in 12 to 16 students from our partner institutions every year. to come and study 1 semester at Film Academy. This is, by the way, free of tuition charges. And you see maybe some familiar faces on the picture here too. So this is 5 months of tuition at Film Academy, including a small production, and that's happening every year. So this is how we fuel our international network, because the incoming students are working with our regular students here on common projects. And so we are strongly emphasizing international co-productions that grow out of what's happening on the campus. And this has happened in several cases quite successfully. So there has been one production I would like to stress particularly, which is called If Objects Could Speak. And it's a production that has been nominated for the African Movie Academy Awards 2020 in the category Award for Best Diaspora Documentary. And it's been a collaboration between Kenyan director Saitabao Kajare and Elena Schilling, who is a regular student of our school. So this is the type of thing we want to stress and to foster with our international operations. Can we go to the next page? So we are pushing that a little bit further in the next year. And we are making the school bilingual now, which means that from 2022 on, students who have no command of German, but of English language can also apply to side enter into Film Academy directly into the 3rd year. This might be of interest to some of our people in the audience today. So you will find all the information about that in the course of the year appearing on the website of the Academy. So side entry into the 3rd year means project studies. You would come here to study for 5 semesters in different study courses, as they are listed there: film directing, production, editing, camera, script writing. And that would be all taught in English, and you would be a regular student of the school for 2.5 years and also receive all the benefits that the students here would receive, which includes technical support by the school and even cash budget. So why are we doing this? Because we believe that the future of filmmaking is international. We believe that thinking in national markets only, like this institution did 10 years ago, it's nothing that will work in the future anymore. So making careers in the business, and I think all the people who are with us today here know that very well, means thinking internationally, means thinking in networks, in collaborations, and in structures that are international. So that's what we like to teach our students, and that's the spirit of the school, if I might say that. In that very same spirit, with that funding by the Robert Bosch Foundation and with our partners at DocuBox and also at Mashirika and Maisha Film Lab later, we came together to shape a project with the name Film Pro Series East Africa. And I guess you all know about this thing, and Mudamba already said it, because it's been running quite successfully for the last 2 years in the East African region. And I think it's a good example of a project that is really taking into account all sides of the story. So we have that funding by the foundation, but then it's about what would the needs be in the regions where we are working with this project. So what would be the particular needs in continuous training for filmmakers in these markets? And that's why the collaboration has been such a great thing to do, because we really developed all the elements within this program, like mostly weekly seminars together with our partners, to find out what the actual need would be to professionalize filmmaking in the particular regions. And also what I personally like very much about the program is that we managed in most of the times to make teams that were international too. The tutors were international. So we were sending some from here, and we were pairing them with African tutors, so that there was more a dialogue and well, like a horizontal situation. That's what we try to create, and I think it worked most of the time. And so I think that's really a model that I hope will have a future. Can we move on to the next page? So it consisted of 22 workshops, as you see. I mean, on the most different projects, from film lighting to creative producing, to color correction, what have you. It's been very specific, very individual, and so in the end, we were forced to do a couple of the workshops on the internet. But that wasn't the worst thing of all, if you think about it, because it really led to making this whole project a bit more international in the end, because it wasn't a question of place so much anymore. And so I can only say I hope that we helped a bit to interconnect filmmaking in East Africa with these workshops and the different players and institutions through the course of the project, which is now coming to an end in the shape that it has been, because the funding is running out. It's been designed as a 2-year program. It's been, well, delivered. So we did it. We developed it together with our partners. And now, can we go to the next page, please? Now the thing would be how to establish that as a brand, or keep that brand going beyond the structure which has been built during these 2 years, which means funding by the Robert Bosch fund, which is going to terminate, and also Film Academy's role is going to change because of that. But I would like to say that it is very, very important to me to not leave that and go somewhere else, but to develop these ties that we have built further within the next years in different models. But I mean, hanging on to our partners in the region, further developing this whole thing. So can we go to the next page? You see a couple of images there. That's been a cinematography workshop. You can see a scene there from I think Amadeus, an old film. Yeah, but it gives you an impression of the level that these workshops were designed at, which is quite professional and with a lot of technical support, and with an emphasis on the market in the end, in really raising the quality of what people do in their respective departments. In that sense, I would like to say thank you to all the people who made this possible now. And this is not to say, I'm not saying goodbye to the Film Pro series, but it's been like a thank you to what has been so far. Of course, Frank and the Robert Bosch Foundation for coming up with the initial idea of this and for pushing it and making it possible. Then to Barbara Mattes, who was running the German side office for the whole project. She's left for maternity now, so she's going to have a child very, very soon. That's why she's not in office anymore. I would like to thank on the Kenyan side to Makandi Mbai, the project manager, who is also managing this meeting today, to Philip Hoffman, who I'm seeing there in front of the world map, from Rush Lake Media, who has been consulting and being very instrumental in designing the workshops. I would like to thank you very much, Mudamba and Judy Kibinga of DocuBox for being very reliant and firm partners in this, and to Phoebe Kioria, whom you have met already in a pitch earlier, and whom you will meet in a minute again in another presentation. And last but not least, to Hope Azeda of Mashirika Festival in Rwanda. Also Murat, of course, and Makandi again for organizing this meeting today. So I hope I'm still on time. I've been talking pretty fast. I'm sorry for that. But now let me pass on the word to Phoebe Kioria, who has been running a couple of the workshops in the East African Film Pro Series program, and who is going to talk about film in Africa, which I think is her own funding now. Thank you very much. Phoebe? Okay. So she's not here, I think, due to connection issues presently. That's why we are going to have Hope Azeda, who is going to present to us Mashirika. Is that right? Hope, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Ah, hello.
No. Hello. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Hope Azeda, and I've been on this journey for the last 20 years in Rwanda, and it's been a great journey of discovery. It's been a journey that looked like a school, because every other day I encounter a story, and that story finds its place in my heart, and from my heart I give it back to the world. So basically, I have always thought that art is an encounter, and so is life. So what Mashirika has been doing, we are a performing arts and media company, and we've been using art as a tool for social transformation, which has helped me discover ways and new ways of my teachers wouldn't love to listen to this, of course. I've broken so many rules because I have found that the skills I learned in school may not be applicable to the kind of stories I'm dealing with in Rwanda. So together with with the company I run, Mashirika, we've been trying to look for new ways and methodologies of approaching these stories, either for screen or for stage. But what I've really found is that we are constantly on the journey of searching for soul, and searching for soul in the sense that there is where the world has been taking us in rushing things, running and rushing things and not feeling things, which brings me to the idea of a methodology that looks like a crab, like how a crab walks. A crab feels and walks. So our methodology is like a crab method. We could call it a crab method, whereby you feel and walk. What you don't feel, you don't bring it out. What you don't feel, you don't. What you don't feel, you don't put it on stage. So for the film collaboration project we had for the film series in East Africa, I basically focused on acting, and I was just looking for how do we tap on soul as we tell these stories that are almost hard to tell or even hard to retell. How do we go to that place that is very, very difficult? Because in most cases, you find that when people screen, it's just act, we want to act, it's about like acting. But how do we stop acting and we feel these stories? And it's really clear on screen that there was something special in how this story was told. I'm talking about really grave stories that could deal with mass rape, and stories that are very hard to tell that are just very hard to tell, but you don't want also the people watching your film or watching the performance on stage to turn away their faces. How do we engage them? How do we connect and, you know, reconnect together in that particular moment? I don't know, I had sent some photographs to share. I don't know that they can be shared. If they can be shared, that is fine. But what I wanted also to tap on is that through dealing with these themes of social justice, yeah, I think they're going to start playing a film. This film is a collaboration between Rwanda, Germany, and Bosnia. And I have found Rwanda to be, you know, a poem. When you come to Rwanda, I'm not bragging about this, the scenery is very poetic. So most of the productions of film stories, whatever I deal with, starts with a poem. So this particular thing you're seeing on the screen, which is not playing, I don't know for what reason, if it can start playing, good. Yeah. That story you're watching is basically a poem, which you can now follow.
You had a life. Somebody took a scissor and made a stop. Material home was lost. I was always on the move. Everything was really disappearing. Nothing really exists. You have absolutely no idea how long it will last. You had this hope. This is gonna end tomorrow. But it continues, continues, continues.
Amidst the time-worn lonely echoes, I hear songs unheard of ashes you left me, clouding memories. Voices from within burst like fiery powder. In the midst of stones, the wind rises the dust around me. From dust to soul, and from soul to dust, where love and peace still prevail.
Other part that is balancing my life. Home is where your heart still is. I have this social interaction that I don't think I can get anywhere else. I have a history there that makes it home. A memory of something that doesn't exist anymore.
Out of this cracked earth, I walk on this so-called home. From the buried sand, shattered pieces of the past slip softly out of breath. Under the blanket of dust, I reckon each beat of self-past with the awareness of the lost. Where dust follows soul, from dust to soul, and from soul to dust, where love and peace still prevail.
Still my home. But for the time being, it seems not to be the best place to live. Everyone has a story that connects with someone else.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So basically you can see there's some theatrical film, dance, music, and you know, the African way of mixing everything, music, dance, whatever. But yeah, that's what I was talking about, connecting in the moment from soul. So yeah, our websites are just out there, and I'll be open to have any collaborations or talks or discussions that we can keep the conversation going. But I'll stop for now because I only had 5 minutes.
All right, then I'll take over on this side. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Hope, and it was really impressing. Yeah, as Guido already mentioned, for parts of the for the education, for Pro Series, and of course for distributing films from Africa all over the world, it's important to have another partner from the distribution side. And belonging to this team, setting up Pro Series, but as well as Follow the Nile, is Rushlick Media in Cologne. And I welcome our friend and partner Philip Hoffman from Rushlick Media, who is one of the, from the German side, strongest distributor of African films in Europe. Philip, I'll hand over to you. Maybe you can explain a little bit what you have to offer for partners from Africa and above.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you very much for having me. It's good to see a number of friends also in the circle of participants today. So all good to see you again. It's not so easy these days. Yeah, just in a nutshell, Rushlick Media is, as Frank said, one of the sales agents, I may say probably one of the leading sales agents for African films and African stories. Our mission is indeed to bring African stories to audiences around the world. It all started some 8 years ago. A film called Nairobi Half-Life, which indeed some of you might have seen, still today one of the most successful Kenyan films. And since then we have expanded our profile, working with African films. Nowadays our catalog consists from all over the continent. We do have films which are not technically African productions, but let's say European productions or European African co-productions, but with a very strong focus on the African continent. We have teams both in Nairobi, Kenya, as well as Cologne, Germany, where we divide the work on bringing those stories and films to the world. Just a few words, because we all know that the world has, changed over the past 12 months. And, once this pandemic is over, I doubt that the world afterwards will be exactly like the world before. So, and that comes along with a general change in our job as a sales agent, which used to be a traditional B2B business. We have been selling solely to other business clients like TV stations, platforms, distributors, so on and so forth. And that line has blurring. And our profile, I would say, is not only being focused on African films and African stories. I'd like to call Rushlick Media nowadays a digital-centric company, which is not digital only, but in the end, we're pretty much focused on the digital market. Meaning, of course, we still handle films on festivals, we still sell to TV stations, but in the end, more and more the digital market, as we all know, comes into focus for what we do. And we as a company, as a sales company, try to address that shift in the market and go along with that. In the end, our job is, of course, to create profile for and with the films, and to create awareness for and with the films, and to make them accessible all around the world. Because as Guido said in his presentation, in the end, it's all about the international markets we have to address. Instead of a presentation, I'll share a few links with you in the chat, so you can directly copy paste them to our website, to our VOD channel, which we run on YouTube, with a whole number of African films, which will come to Roku as well in a few weeks, so that you can get a little bit of impression what we do. And of course, if you want to present and have any projects in the making, or maybe which are still even finished, please reach out. I'm happy to connect you with our acquisitions manager, and then we'll take it from there. As a very last word, thanks to everybody as part of the project that we have been able to be on board for the past years. And I'm sure we're going to cooperate on some other level in the nearer future anyways. So this is certainly not a farewell, but just, a transition into new things. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Philip. And yeah, like you said, it's a transition we're into now. And this guides us to the end of this workshop or a presentation of Follow the Nile and Pro Series. I thank all of you for your attention and sharing your time with us in this business Berlinale online times. And even if the European film market is only online this year, it keeps you busy, of course, and as all of us. So thanks again for your attention, and I wish you a wonderful day, week, wonderful Berlinale, European film market, wherever you are, and see you hopefully in person, physically again next year. Have a wonderful time. And of course, we shared all the contacts in the chat. If you want to get in contact with any of our partners or institutions we presented here, please check with us and we link you, of course, with pleasure. All the best to you and see you soon. Bye-bye.